What up YouTube and all you sexy buddy fighters? Oh my gosh guys, we're going to Japan! Wow, you know guys, I said at the beginning of the year that I'll definitely be seeing you guys in the World's Finals in Japan this year, and well, here we are. And you wanna know something else guys? I will be the world champion this year. Because Jackknife says so. You know, the Astrodrans can merely predict the future. Jackknife can actually travel to the future. Isn't that right, Jackknife? When did I even? Alright guys, let's begin. So, you know, the Manila Championships was amazing. I managed to meet some of the friends that I met the previous time. It was a beautiful experience, and I decided to go with Jackknife because it's been many seasons since Jackknife finally got the support he's deserved, and I'm just glad that I can fight alongside my buddy once again. Alright, let's begin. So guys, after all these years, the Jackknife deck has finally perfected its form, covering its weaknesses from all angles from before. However, Bushiroad hasn't been very forward about it on how to build the deck. They have been releasing a little bit of support bit by bit from the previous sets from before, and now when Blazing Overclash finally drops, the stars have aligned and we have completed the puzzle. Alright guys, so for the buddy we play Star Guardian Jackknife Fullwing. So cast cost, put this on top of a monster and pay 1 gauge. It do says any monster, so you can put it on top of Dragoram also. It doesn't have to be a Jackknife. So counter enhancer during each player's attack phase, draw a card, then call up to 1 monster with Jackknife on top of this card without paying its core cost. You may only use enhancer once per turn. It has move, double attack and soul guard. Now guys, this ability is just a marvel to Jackknife because number 1, it solves the draw issue. You know, Jackknife used to have very little draw power. With Enhancer, you're able to draw 1 card every turn for your turn as well as your opponent's turn, and also evolve into any Jackknife that you need during that situation. Absolutely must play for. I play as the buddy. Is the best card in Jackknife right now. For the flag, we use the Exalted flag. Very beautiful. Take a look at how this duo just look together. Awesome. First up, we'll play 2 copies of Lost World because the darkness completes us. And also, this deck has a bunch of draw mechanism which makes Lost World very compatible in the late game. Next up, we play 2 copies of Impact Monster Jackknife Genetic Battle Riser. Alright guys, later I'll explain some of the combos so it will make much more sense on why some of these cards work so well with this deck. Alright, so it's an Impact Monster. The gauge cost of this card is reduced if you have used Overturn during this game. So call this on top of a Neo Dragon monster on your field and put up to 1 card from the drop zone into its card soul. When this card enters the field, put up to 1 card from your deck into its soul and shuffle your deck. This is a really amazing card in this deck. I'll explain to you why later. Next up, we play 3 copies of Jackknife Esther. Now this is the best defensive Jackknife in the deck guys. So if you have a Drago Arms in its soul, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also it cannot take any effect damage by your opponent, so you won't be afraid of any penetrate damage, any impact damage, and any destruction spell cast by your opponent. It is a really amazing Jackknife. So personally, I play 3 copies because sometimes I can't draw into it if I play 2, and it's really important. Next up, we play 4 copies of the Buddy Jackknife Fullwing. It is an amazing card, definitely play 4. Next up, we play 4 copies of Thunder Dragoner Jackknife Overload. Now guys, this was the final puzzle to the Jackknife deck. Okay, so call cost, put this card on top of a monster and pay 1 gauge. Now if this card is on the field or in a soul of a Neo Dragon, souls in all cards on your field cannot be dropped by your opponent card effect. Wow, how amazing is that? Guys, previously from before, no matter how big you build your Jackknife to be, you know, the moment your opponent decides to cast a remove all souls card or spell, you know, like Loki, there goes your Jackknife. However, with this card, it just solves the soul remove issue. It is amazing. And also it has Overturn. During each player's attack phase, drop a hand card and call 1 monster with Jackknife from your deck on top of this card without paying its call cost. Wow, how amazing is that? You definitely want to see this card during your first turn, and usually I like to call into Jackknife Fullwing, or I like to use Fullwing, call into Overload, and call into something that I really need from the deck. You know, it's amazing definitely play 4 copies of him, even though you're only able to use overturn once, but you definitely want to see him in every single game. Also, he works very well with the impact monster because once you use overturn, then you can use your impact monster for free. Next up, we play 3 copies of Nova Guardian Jackknife. Now guys, this is one of the best engines in the deck right now. So put this on top of a monster on your field and pay 2 gauge. When this card enters the field, drop the top 4 cards of your deck, 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your soul. So it's instantly a 3 cards into his soul, buffering up your entire Jackknife by a lot. Also counter, drop a soul from this card. If you do, it gets triple attack and counter attack. So it's good offensively and defensively as well, because with such a thick soul, if you decide to discard one for counter attack, all your opponent monster will be destroyed by counter attack. Previously, it wasn't as good because the 2 gauge call cost is quite a lot, and also you can only use his effect if you call him by an effect. However, now with Jackknife Fullwing as well as Overload, it cancels out the call cost, and it's just a really extremely powerful card. Next up, we'll play 4 copies of Rainbow Vision Shadow Scare. Now this is the best size 1 Neo Dragon in the deck, so when a soul enters your Jackknife, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck. 1 goes into your hand, 1 goes into the gauge, 1 goes into the soul of a Jackknife. It is the perfect engine for Jackknife. Also, if you have a size 2 or greater Neo Dragon on the field, this becomes a size 0. So when you call a Drago Arm to the side and to cross lines, you don't have to worry about Shadow Scare being oversized and sending it to the drop zone. And don't forget that this ability activates once per turn. So after using the top 3 ability, during your turn, during your opponent's turn, if you decide to evolve into a Jackknife, you can use the top 3 effect as well. So you're consistently increasing your hand size, increasing your gauge and the soul of a Jackknife. Perfect for this deck. Definitely play 4 copies of him. Next up, we play 4 copies of Star Dragoner Dimension E. Now this card was used to mainly counter the Demon Dragons because at the start of my turn, they can actually rob all of my gauge. With this card, I can actually call my Jackknife without any gauge cost. So I will usually call him and call my Jackknife on top and activating its effect as well to draw 1 card. Another combo I like is to call my Jackknife in the center and Shadow Scare at the right and this card on the left. So during my opponent's turn, I'll use Enhancer effect, draw 1 card, evolve into a Jackknife. With Shadow Scare, I can use his top 3 ability, and with Dimension E at the side, I can get a draw 1 as well. So the engine is very powerful. Next up, moving on to Dragon Arms, we play 3 copies of Jack Arms J Pinero 2s. So this is a very amazing Dragon Arm. First of all, when this card goes into a soul of a Jackknife, you gauge 1 card and you gain 1 life, keeping your gauge and life at a very healthy range. Next, you can remove this card from a Jackknife and rest a card on your opponent's field. So it takes out the aggressors on your opponent's field, such as the Atora on your opponent's field, or the Demon Dragons item, as well as stuff which allows your opponent to gain advantage through attacking. Next up, we'll play 2 copies of Jack Arms J Avalanche. Now this is another amazing card. When it's in the soul of a Jackknife, you get power plus 2000 and defense 2000. So you boost his stats a little bit. Also, when this card enters the field, if you have a Jackknife on your field, you can either draw a card or you gauge 1 and gain 1 life. Usually we'll use a draw card effect. So it helps to filter the deck and it helps to draw more cards when you're in Lost World as well. Next up, we'll play 2 copies of Dragon Arms Gaia Fang. Now this is another amazing card in this deck because first of all, if it's in the soul of a Neo Dragon, it gets power plus 2000 for each soul on the field. So you technically boosts your Jackknife to easily to 10k plus power, able to hit anything in the game right now. And if this card is in the soul of a Neo Dragon, its abilities cannot be nullified. So combo it together with Jackknife Overload and Jackknife Esther, your Jackknife becomes immortal, not being able to destroy by card effects, soul cannot be dropped and its abilities cannot be nullified. How amazing is that? Also, we only play 2 copies because most of the time you only need 1 copies in the Jackknife. And next up, we'll play 2 copies of Jack Arms J Holder. So when this card enters your Jackknife, you may pay 1 life and take 1 card from his soul into your hand. So it works very well with Jackknife Nova because Jackknife Nova chucks a lot of souls into your Jackknife. Also remember I said that we play the impact monster from the start. So when you call this card, you may put a Jackknife's J holder from your drop zone into its soul. Then Jackknife's J holder goes into standby. So this impact monster allows you to search one card from the deck into its soul. So you may pay 1 life and take that 1 card back into your hand. It allows you to search for any card from Lost World to Esther to your Dragon Force or Draw Power or anything. So this is an amazing combo together with J Holder. Next up, we play 2 copies of Biggest Drago Arm Chaos Triple Buster. Now this is one of the best Drago Arms and we has only recently got it through a promo. So you may put this card into a Neo Dragon or Chaos monster on the field. So if this card is in the soul of a monster, all monsters on each player's field cannot be returned to hand. So it crushes decks such as Conan or Asmodai. Also at the start of each player's attack phase, if this card is in the soul of a monster, destroy up to 1 card on your opponent's field. How amazing is that? So you can use destroy during my turn and during my opponent's turn and continuously crumble his resources. What an amazing card. We play 2 copies of him. Next up, we'll play 2 copies of Drago Arms Mayday. Mayday, we need some help here. Counter, call up to 1 Neo Dragon onto the field. So usually, all of your Jackknife is called on top of a monster. So you may use his ability to directly call on top and let your opponent miss attack. So you can also use it as a rush or defensively as well. Also, if your opponent decides to use his trick up his sleeve and call an Atora SD, return all your souls to your hand, you may use Mayday effect and just counter call on top and allow him to miss his ability as well. And for the final Drago Arm, we play 1 copy of Biggest Drago Arm Triple Buster. It gives your Jackknife critical +1 and penetrate and a little bit of power boost as well of 3000. It is absolutely necessary in the meta right now. It is very good against the mirror match, it is good against Zodiac, and it's good against Roselia as well, which is kinda afraid of penetrate. Now moving on to the spells, we play 3 copies of Star Bright Soul. Guys, I can't express how amazing this card is. First of all, we pay 1 life, we can either put a Drago Force from the deck into our hand, or we can put a total of 2 Drago Arms and monsters with Jackknives from the drop zone into your hand. This is an amazing engine for the deck. In Lost World, I like to take my J Avalanche, instantly allows me to draw 2 cards, or I like to take my Jackknife Nova. You can use Enhancer ability to keep on replenishing your Jackknife, never running out of things to call. This is such an amazing card. We play 3 copies of him. Next up, we play 2 copies of Star Believer. So you remove a soul, you gain a life and draw 2 cards. It gives you the extra life boost, and personally I chose this over Iris Lilac because this one you're actually gaining hand size. Sometimes you want the extra hand size. However, Iris Lilac actually allows you to choose 1 card from the top of the deck and the rest goes into gauge, which this deck does not really have much of a gauge issue. I do prefer hand size and it works amazing in Lost World as well. We play 2 copies of him. Next, we play 2 copies of Heavenly Crystal Awakening. Now guys, I honestly think this card is seriously broken. I mean, if you've used Overturn this game, you cast this card, you charge 3 gauge and draw 3 cards. Like what? Draw 3 cards with 1 card? That is amazing, and it's also counter, so your opponent can't react to it. Such an amazing card. It was actually originally used for Atora because Atora has such a small hand size and they abuses the Overturn a lot. So now Jackknife also abuses Overturn, and this card is just truly broken, man. It is really a game-changing card. So you can only use once per game, so we play 2 copies of it. Next up, we'll play 2 copies of Star Jack Revival. So core cost, drop a soul from a Jackknife on the field and drop a hand card. So you may use one of the following 2. So for this turn, all monsters with Jackknife on the field cannot be destroyed or leave the field by opponent cards. Until the start of your opponent next turn, you cannot lose the fight. What? This is like your lifeline card, guys. It automatically buys you 1 more turn. With Esther on the field and you use this card, literally your opponent can't do anything to you. Also, if your opponent plays Cursed Dragon, you lose the fight. you use Starjack Revival. Say what? If your opponent decide to use Abby Mill against you, you just use this card and buys you one more turn to attack them. So if your opponent have Lost World, they're ready to 30 damage impact you, just show them this card and they'll be the ones worrying about your attacks the next turn. And next up for the items, we play 3 copies of Cosmo Saber Gold Ritter. So you definitely want to get your Overturn Jackknife or your Buddy. So with this card, it allows you to search for them as well. And also this deck build actually plays more than 50 cards. It plays 54 cards because there's just too many things that you need to play, and also the filter power of the deck is too strong. So with this card, it really helps out the deck in searching out your Jackknife as well. And finally, we play 2 copies of Dragon Force Style of Future. Now this is the brand new Dragon Force. It is as stronger as before. So its release condition is fairly easy. You only need a new dragon or Jackknife with 2 or more souls, 2 or more Drago arms in its soul. So this card cannot be destroyed or returned to hand. Abilities cannot be nullified, and also counter during each player's attack phase. Choose a new dragon for you and put up to 1 Drago arm from the deck into its soul, and you can only use this once per turn. What? Whoa, this is amazing, guys. Literally, you can choose any Drago arms. If you need rest, you find rest. If you need destroy, you find destroy. If you need penetrate, you just get that penetrate. And it also has double attack with 3 crits. It is really the cherry on top of the cake, which makes the deck so amazing. Your whole deck is in the palm of your hands. So generally, I feel like this deck has a good matchup with most of the decks. The only bad matchup might be Roselia, because they might have like 10 attacks every single turn. However, it's not totally no chance against Roselia. You have stuff like Starjack Revival to buy you another turn. You can sideboard stuff like Phase Seal Change to end the attack phase. Garble Anchor to nullify some of the important spells, and you also have Promise of Rainbow to stop decks like Abigail. Alright guys, we've come to the end of the deck profile. This is definitely one of my favorite decks to play. Also, like and subscribe for more Buddyfight videos, and also do check out buddy-mart.com. We do put out our best collection of constructed decks out there. And guys, I'll see you in Japan. It's time to Buddyfight!